never ending midnight sun. Which honestly, this is why I kind of like rant, because girl, this is my soap. Hi everybody, it's me, Pink the Most Cat the Sum, and I'm coming at you with a video that I recorded once and then deleted yet again. This is, as you can already read from the title, this is gonna be a video about Amberlynn Reid. I'm crazy. Who am I? I'm pink. That's who I am. Anyways, a lot has been going on within the Amberverse, and I am so excited to get into it because golly, so much has been going on, and luckily, as I am recording this video, it is Thursday. It is Thursday, October 16th. So much has been going on within the Amberverse. I took notes. This is my handwriting. It's really bad. I have very swirly handwriting, and I was writing all this rushed. Kind of like Amber when she was writing her journal entries about Emily.
So why are these journals so fucking messy? Why is the handwriting such a messy scrawl?
Clock that tea. First things first, let's get into the main first thing that, okay, before, this was like 48 hours before the last dawn. Amber comes back onto YouTube in the last week of December with YouTube Shorts. So, Amber's triumphant return onto YouTube was immediately marred by her and the fact that she was now lying and trying to create a story of her having a now 9-to-5 job. The only question is, obviously, whenever someone does come online, you do not have to share or talk about where your workplace is. This is information that isn't necessarily a needed thing to tell when it comes to going online. However, for Amber, she completely does that. She immediately... No, she doesn't do that. What am I saying? The biggest issue is she's not telling us what her job is besides the fact that she's typing. What is that? There is no anything stating as to what her job is because we all know for a fact that she doesn't have a job. If she had a job, she would have immediately told us exactly what her job is, what she's going to be doing, or she would have alluded to what it was. Amber likes to sit there and say, I love to keep some of my things to myself. I love to have some of my things, and I need to keep some things personal. And it's like, no, you don't. Amber is allergic to keeping things private and to herself. And at this point, she would have already told us, you know, I have this job as this, this, and this, or would have at least alluded to what her job is. So far, her job, she says, is she's just typing. She's typing up at the typing factory, as everyone's been saying. What I personally find to be very crazy, outrageous, local crazy, is that she... What I think she's doing personally within this video is I personally think she's now just using these videos because here's my thing about these what I eat in a day job videos. It's content. If I'm being honest, look at it, so pretty in my hair. Wait, I want it all over my hair. I like that. But the issue I find at hand with her doing the what I eat in a day videos is how she is using that as a leeway for her to do tourism porn. That word pretty much got censored out as of me editing this, but you can take a guess at what I'm going to say. But she's basically doing this because, in my opinion, these videos of these influencers or these random people just eating on their job, in my opinion, is non-tent. I'm sorry. No tea, no shade to them. No tea, no shade, no tea, no shade. I don't watch any of them. But I don't think that their videos are entertaining or necessary. Because it's like, what's the point of you showing me what you're eating at your 9-to-5 cubicle job? It's like there's nothing interesting about you eating like a protein bar and then having a shot of something and then like having work. That to me is boring. Maybe some people really like it, but in my opinion, some people find something with it. I'm just not that clientele. I'm not the business. But for Amber, she's not the business either. Amber likes watching people eat because, in my opinion, I think Amber is both a feeder and a feeder. So, this for her is just father to just be like all tea. Because there's no reason why she should be doing what she's doing. Because, okay, I don't want to be someone who body shames at all. Because I think to body shame or to insult someone's body and be serious about it and genuinely think that people who are in a bigger body or a smaller body or any type of body and to demean them is a very stupid way to live life. Just to be quite frank, I think that's very stupid. But I think when it comes to what Amber's doing, being about 600 pounds, if not more, you know for a fact that when you're eating food, and you're eating food in the way that you are, where, I'm sorry, it's absolutely disgusting how she eats food, with how she gets the fork in. She has to, like, scrape it off with the front of her teeth, and there's no reason why when you eat, you make fat people noises, and why when you're eating, you have to breathe that heavy. And I don't want to hear nothing about, like, the whole, well, I don't breathe like how other people do. Everybody has the same type of lungs. Almost there, even people who have asthma, they can breathe easier than she does. There's no reason why this big bitch has to keep going every time she chews. That should be a sign enough. But that's neither here nor over there. My issue is the fact that when she is gorging herself on camera, the nuance completely changes of when a person who is average weight, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, doesn't really matter in between, when they're eating food for this specific type of media / content, versus what Amber's doing, where she knows for a fact that her content and her videos and her media is being used and being seen in a way that is meant for sexual gratification. That's just the meat and potatoes of it. Pun not intended, but that's the meat and potatoes of it. And Amber can't sit there and say she does not know she's being fetishized. She cannot say, oh, I don't think so. It's not right that my body, my this. You know it, because that's what your girlfriend was. Amber doesn't have an excuse now to say, oh no, you guys are being weird. You guys are taking me to be like this big, and you guys are being fat phobic, or you guys are being this or that. No, you know it. You know it. You straight up know it. It loses its weight when you know for a fact that what you're doing is reaching a certain and very specific audience, and in return, you create media for that specific audience. You know what I mean? Like, no tea, no shade, no tea, no shade, no tea, no shade. If I wanted to make specific media for a specific audience, and I know that I would have to sell myself short or create myself to become some type of pariah or some type of social ingrate, I would do it to get the audience and the fanfare of what I want. I have to drop all respect that I have for myself, which I do think Amber has absolutely no respect for herself at all at this point. But in order for you to create the media and the content of what you are doing, Amber, you have to now understand that you know who's watching your videos. You know the audience that is receiving and watching, and in turn ingesting that content that you're creating. You know that the people who are ingesting that content are feeders and are into viewing a morbidly obese woman as a sexual object, where they just engorge, and a huge point of it is eating. And I think she likes it too, because again, I think the biggest key for that is when she was eating her seafood boil, where she had a fly, which we're going to put a pin in that. When she eats her corn on the cob, but she has to get super close to the camera. There is no reason why you have to get this close to the camera to bite into corn. I don't even like being close to the camera. Isn't the glitter pretty? No, that's not necessary. That's not necessary. That is not unnecessary. That is not necessary. Did I move my camera? It is not a necessary thing for her to do, but she's doing it because she knows exactly what audience, and I'm pretty sure everybody's already said it at this point because I'm late to the fucking party. But like, that's just what she's doing. Back when she was doing her Let's Talk Thursdays, which thank God we're done with that. What a mess that was to use AI voices. And like, can I be honest with y'all? This is gonna be a very quick tangent. Are AI voices the same as CTS voices? Because I said in the video that I made one for an OC of mine, but like, I don't want to like be a bad person either. So like, y'all tell me about like the moral dilemmas of whether or not it's good or bad, because I know I should be doing my due diligence and doing the research, but I haven't. So y'all tell me whether or not there's a real difference or not. She knows it because in her Let's Talk Thursdays, I believe someone had asked her about whether or not how she feels about kind of being seen as a person who gets fetishized. And I think in any demographic of a marginalized group, or when you're in a minority group, whether it is a racial group, whether it's a gendered group, like being transgender, being non-binary, being a cross-dresser, whether it's being Asian, Black, Hispanic, being a specific type of gay male, being a specific type of lesbian woman, being anything, you will be fetishized by a group of weirdos. And same thing can be said about a lot of things. Amber is choosing to be fetishized, and that's what she wants, because I think Amber likes the idea and the attention that she receives when she's fetishized, when she's being looked at in a certain way, when she's being viewed upon as a sexual object, because in her mind, and we've seen, Amber holds the idea of being sought after and being sexualized at such a high level that if you read her as less than or as a sexually non-attractive person, she will see it as one of the worst things ever, which is kind of weird because when you think about it, in my opinion, what I would hold at highest for a person is the idea of love, whether it's self-love or love by others or love that you give to others. Amber doesn't put that into account because I don't think Amber cares about the idea of being loved, if I'm being real with you, which I know she talked about in her Snapchat, which we will get into because I've hit it in my mouth. Her main go-to when it comes to people kind of going after her is how quickly she can get sex. Oh, do you know how many guys I gave handjobs to? Do you know how many girls I could eat the coochie? You know how many times I've been finger blasted by these girls? All these girls were fucking me. All these girls were eating my vagina. All these girls were doing this, and this to me. It's always sexual with her. But it's never, do you know how many times these girls were with me to, like, just talk? How many times these girls were here to have a genuine connection with me? How many times these girls were here with me to just spend these moments that really matter, whether it's these huge moments of love and displays of love or these smaller, quieter, cozier moments. It's never that. It's not even with her mother that she does that with, but that's because I don't think she has any love in her life at all that isn't surrounded by the idea of herself or food. And it's kind of sad and pathetic to constantly equate your value and your self-worth with the idea of how much sex or how sexually gratifying you potentially could be to random people who literally don't even matter. Being sexy or being fucked isn't gonna be the prize, and I'm sorry. I said this, I think, in my last Amberlynn Reid video. Having someone wanting to fuck you or being able to get fucked by someone isn't the flex that you think it is, and I've seen a lot of these ugly bitches in Bopo talk about how, like, I can take your man if I want to. Why is that a flex? Who cares? You can get fucked if you want. That doesn't change nothing for me. You're still not liked. Nobody likes you. Now what? But you got fucked, but no one likes you. What changed? Who's there? Knock knock. It's stupid. I'm sorry. It's not the flex, and it's not me to slut shame either. Because you know what? Go on and get your bad self. You know what I mean? You better get how you living. Live your life. Get it how you living. Who cares? And also, that bug that was on her was not a fruit fly. We already know that. That's not a fruit fly. I have fruit flies. My mom always has fruit. I live in a house where we have a lot of fruit. We grow, like, a lot of fruits. You want a persimmon? I have a persimmon tree. I don't even like persimmons. Like, I love a persimmon, but I love how they look. I don't eat them because, in my opinion, it tastes like a bland apple, but, like, I love a persimmon. Fruit flies, I don't think fruit flies have ever once landed on me. Like, I don't know how else to say. The fruit flies are very minuscule. They are very, very tiny. Very, very, very tiny. I don't know what bug was on her, but that wasn't a fucking fruit fly. Like, I don't know how... It's not a fruit fly. Fruit flies are very small, and I don't believe they really land on people. And if they do, that means she smells putrid. Because fruit flies usually go on, like... You shouldn't be acting like it's such a giggle moment that a fruit fly landed on you and that you're clean and healthy when fruit flies can be caught by a trap that smells like rotted meat. So, yeah. So, she gets called out for typing because, again, it was one thing that the obvious audience of hers was going to call her out, i.e. reaction channels, commentary channels, so forth and so on. What was more shocking is the fact that this specific YouTube short that Amber did, I think, is having the exact opposite, but maybe not really, effect of what she wants with her content, which is she's kind of being viewed a little bit more now by other channels who don't necessarily watch her channel, but she's being looked at by other people who aren't a part of Girl World, who technically have a little bit more viewerships than her, calling her out, and it was done by a specific TikToker who I don't know the name of. I believe that TikToker then made a reaction to Amber, where they're basically like, bitch, you literally made up you having a job and you're messaging me.
I never thought it'd be beefing with Amberlynn Reid, but here I am, because she sent me a message saying that she wasn't typing gibberish, she never claimed to have a 9 to 5, and that I'm pathetic. Alright, let's just go through this one by one. This clip you typing, that's gibberish, right? You can't convince me otherwise, because you didn't press the backspace once, you pressed the space bar every 2 characters, and even if these were complete sentences, it was a word, so damn, you're gibberish. Alright, the next thing, you said you didn't claim to have a 9 to 5. Technically, you're right, you actually claim to have a 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., which the more I think about it is even more unrealistic. But we all know you're filming these videos in about 20-30 minutes, because look at the natural lighting in this picture. On the right, that is natural lighting at like 2 p.m. This next picture is 7:30 p.m. That natural light has stayed the exact same. Now your last point, calling me pathetic, that's okay, you can call me pathetic, it doesn't really hurt my feelings, but like, everybody kind of knows your history, so, sometimes it's better not to say things. And honestly, I feel like she's trying to race bait this entire thing, and that's why I'm taking this shit so unserious. This is genuinely one of the funniest things that I've experienced, and the fact that it's her with everything she's done over the past, 8 to 10 years, it's really funny.
Like, she says there, I never claimed to have a 9 to 5, but you said you have a job. At this point, I think she should know that when people say 9 to 5, it doesn't mean you're directly working a 9 to 5 job, as in you're working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It just is another, way to say you have a job. But Amber wouldn't know that because she doesn't have a job. Amber herself said, if there's content that she doesn't like, she's not going to watch it. She just avoids it. Now, that's what I do. Even earlier to, how I said, when it comes to, the TikTok videos of people doing, the what I ate in a day job. What I ate in a day... What I eat in a day... And, yeah, she just blatantly lies about that. She blatantly lies about her having a 9 to 5 and now trying to use her use of language by just trying to switch it up and say, well, I never said I worked a 9 to 5. Yes, but we're saying you have a job. That's the main thing. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. She comes back onto YouTube making probably the most boring videos that she's ever made in her life. Trying to be smarmy, trying to be cocky, trying to be funny. And it probably created an even worse storm for her when she came back. Only to then have Rachel come in and just deck her across the face with that video. She makes a few Snapchats, which her Snapchats are so fucking weird. I'm sorry. I'm all for embracing the cringe. I think when people talk about cringe, it's so stupid because it's you're just mad at people for being who they are. Let people live their life. You know what I mean? Get your cringe on. But with Amber's, hers is genuinely weird because you are damn near 40 years old, aging like milk, permanently frowning. And there's nothing wrong with age. I'm not saying old people aren't a direct definition of beauty at all, but it's you are old. You're old.
They were old maiden type of shoes.
But with Amber, it's why? I keep thinking about the one picture that I believe Rachel had on her thumbnail. She's like this. She's like, you're 40. You're closer to 40 than you were to 30. You're closer to 40 than you were at 20. Then you're closer to 20. And when her ass tries to bring in well, you wouldn't tell a 17-year-old you're almost 20. Yeah, I wouldn't. But I would if they're doing something that they should be acting more mature than. I would tell a 17-year-old that if they were doing something I don't know, if they're still calling someone gay as an insult or doing some bullshit that's harassing somebody, I'd be you're almost 20. You need to start acting like you're in the fucking real world and stop acting like a kid. Just like how with Amber, you're almost 40. You need to act like you're actually your age, Amber. You're almost 40, and you're over here making goon faces online, still lying about whether or not you have a job. And doing all this bullshit. Be so for real. Her TikToks are so embarrassing because she wants to be sexy so badly. And it's embarrassing. A part about being sexy is you don't have to try so hard, and Amber's such a try-hard. A part of the whole issue that is at hand that I feel should not be taken lightly and shouldn't be kind of joked about at all, because I don't think in any cases is ever going to be something that should be permissible, nor should we ever try and make that into a joke. Abuse is not a joke. And one thing that I want to mention is how in these screenshots that Emily sent to Rachel, it's quite notable that Amber did do 2 to 3 main forms of abuse, in my opinion. I firmly believe that Amber did physically abuse Emily in the sense of her physically grabbing her and digging her nails in and causing damage to the skin. By default, you should not be grabbing your partner with such fervor. You know what I mean? You should not be grabbing any partner at all with such anger and contempt of them and then trying to excuse it. And even if you feel like you didn't do that, if your partner is telling you, you made me feel this way,
Feelings are facts.
it's now your job to understand what they're saying and talk to them instead of trying to tell them and dictate to them what's going on. And for someone who loves to tell people that you cannot tell her what happened and you cannot tell her her truth, She sure does love doing that to Emily and everybody else about her truth.
Feelings are facts, actually.
She fully was creating a form of physical abuse, mental abuse, and in my opinion, psychological abuse. Because the way she was trying to gaslight, the way she was trying to change the narrative and couldn't keep her own story straight, and the way, what I find the most disgusting and most damning and most abhorrent, however you pronounce that word, part was the amount of calls that she did to Emily. That's crazy. Now, Emily, the one thing I can definitely say that Emily did wrong was, why would you go back to her? Emily had a way to leave. I will not understand, and I'm sorry, I can't understand why Emily and Amber, for as much as both of them are talking, why they kept choosing to go back to one another. I think it's such a back and forth and such a damning thing. And I do feel like, I believe the Spectful Moment was actually talking about it on their Instagram. The Spectful Moment, shout out if you somehow watched this. I don't know if you can. They kind of brought up a point where it was like, Emily should kind of be going onto her own platforms to talk about it. However, I do also understand that within Girl World, it is kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't channel. Because if you don't go on your own channel, this is what happens. People are going to say you're just using other people to do it for you. But if you do it on your own channel, you're going to be accused of being money hungry. If I'm being honest on you, a lot of times in Girl World, there is a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to anybody doing anything. Because it's like, if you don't do one thing one way, everybody's going to be upset. But it's the internet. No one's going to be happy about anything you do. Sometimes you just have to find what you feel is best for you. And I think this is probably the best choice for her. Especially because I think going with Rachel is a very smart choice to do. Because Rachel is a very intelligent and very well-spoken creator. These videos happen, and I think in her first live stream, Amber doesn't really go to talk about it. I think she just kind of mentions it a little bit and says, like, I'm at a good point in my life and I don't want to talk about it, and that's about it. And I don't think things really kind of jumped off until the second live stream that she did in October, where things just kind of pop off because people are like, Amber, you did most likely get rid of Rarity just to stay in Oklahoma, just to stay in Wisconsin. She just starts crashing out, and it is horrible.
Don't want to talk about this anymore.
I think what's the worst part is, and I think Rachel pointed it out, Amber gets a journal, which she apparently just had readily available right by her, and starts reading notes, which in my opinion is so weird, because why are your notes so specific in the way that she wrote it? You know what I mean? Her journaling is so specific because she's writing it as if she's telling it to us. You know what I mean? It's such a weird way to journal. Like, the writing, the language, the lingo, the formatting is very much like, it reminds me of her. Do you guys remember when she came out with that video defending Emily about abuse? And she reads, I think what she said Emily wrote, or what she had wrote as a part of her journal about what was going on. It's like, why is it so rehearsed? In my opinion, and in my head, because I like to write too. I'm a little bit of a writer. And in my opinion, when you're journaling, that's as authentic as you can get. Because in all reality, when you're journaling, you know that the only person who's going to be reading it is you. But for some reason, Amber is writing it as if she's reading out a script for something. And not only that, I just want to also, again, say this as everyone's been saying. A journal isn't valid proof. There is no way for us to credit her journals in a specific date. There's no way for us to credit her journals with a specific time period. There's no way for us to say whether or not she did write it during or after. There's no way for us to say anything about it. And it's not permissible. The only thing it works as is, by default and at flatline, at base of what it is, baseline of what a journal is your own experience of how you felt of whatever was going on that day. It's your own account.
Feelings are facts.
But it is not concrete. Because then, with that being said, if your journal has that much weight of what was going on, so does Emily's texts. And so does Emily's words. Now both of them have the same amount of weight because Emily has text messages of her talking to you within that day. And what's the difference now? There's no difference. Her words have the same amount of weight as yours do. And also for her to sit there and be like, you know, Rachel, you're a girl, I'm a girl. What does that have to do with anything? Abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter. Amber, you're a girl. Emily's also a girl. What's the difference? As far as we know, Emily identifies as a female. And as far as we know, she identifies with she, her pronouns. So what's the difference? And I think it's horrible. It's a horrible thing to say because not only is she saying that, it also sets back, in my opinion, Amberlynn Reid is the setback for feminism. If I'm being real with you, I think it's weird for her to say that, especially when she is the one who's being, lobbied as the abuser, and then to say no, it's not me, it's Emily, and your proof is you just reading a book. It's just your own thing. That's weird and that's stupid and that's useless. And this was something that she said that I don't know if anyone said. But in my head, I said it. She says that, how can you act like you know? How could you say, how is Rachel being able to talk about this like she was there when she wasn't there? Then the same could be said about Amber's story. When it comes down to it, what's being said with Amber and her logic, if Rachel, what she's saying with believing Emily and what she's saying with Emily, which, again, I firmly believe that Rachel is as impartial as can be. And I believe most of Girl World is very impartial. The difference is we are now getting more information from Emily. Granted, people are still also holding up Emily and being like, bitch, why are you doing this now? But with this whole thing of her saying, Rachel, how can you speak about this like you were there, like you knew what was going on? How can you act like you were there, like you already knew so much? Amber, would you be saying the same thing if it was the other way around then? How would you feel if it was the other way around and Rachel went to you first, or you went to Rachel first and she listened to you and brought out everything? You started it, the same would be said then. Because she's still, you're right, she wasn't there. We can only make assumptions based on the evidence that was given to us. Mainly right now, most of the evidence is in Emily's court. Amber hasn't said anything. And if her only proof is her calling you a bitch and a cunt, then I'm sorry, what do you want? Did you want her to lie? And name calling isn't the same as you physically assaulting someone. I literally, if someone's talking crazy to you, listen, I know for a fact, when someone's talking crazy to you, sometimes, bitch, you hit a limit and then that's it. You gotta put your money where your mouth is. But in this case, Amber, you're acting fucking crazy and she's calling you something, and then you thought in your relationship it was okay for you to put your hands on them and do shit to them like that? And what really shows me that Amber is violent, some people pointed it out too in the comments that I read, when she slams the table. When she hits that one live stream where she slams on the table and says, this time I am of it. She slammed her hands on that table multiple times. She is hitting the table, slamming on things, which Destiny said Amber would do. Destiny and I believe Beck both said that Amber would hit her fists on the wall. She would hit and slam things. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'd be doing the same thing too. When I get angry, sometimes I think everybody does that. I think everybody does that when they get upset. Somebody might hit the thing. Somebody might, you know what I mean? But with Amber, it changes everything because of how much she, again, likes to say of how much of like a sweet, innocent little lamb she is, and she's never done anything wrong. Hecticona said it again. Hecticona said it the best. In Amber's vision, there's one person going to do all right and one person going to do all wrong, and everybody else does all wrong, and she's the only one who does all right. But you were hitting the table. I believe there was even a scene where she grabs her water bottle and starts squeezing it or some shit. You are showing that you have a violent intention. You have violent intention in your system, in your body. You have anger and vileness and volatile nature inside of you. That's what you're showing us, and you're proving Emily to be true. Her obsession and her trying to now switch it around and act like Emily's obsessed and all that, you were the one who was calling her. Now, Emily, if I'm being honest with you, Emily, if you somehow watch this, baby girl, I'm going to be real with you, Emily. If you somehow watch this, your best bet is for you to get your head out of your ass. Stop fucking talking to Amber. Even if you need to tell her not, don't even. Let Amber be fucking crazy. If she's gonna be crazy, let her be fucking crazy. If she's saying all this shit about you, let her say whatever she needs to say about you. Just let her do what she needs to do. But what you need to do is you need to block her number, delete her number, forget about her number, and show your proof on your things. And if you need help from other channels, then do that. But like, don't interact with her, because now you're bringing yourself back into the eye of the hurricane. One thing I put down as a note was Amber's name calling, because I believe she's sitting there, she's trying to act all high and mighty. She's like, oh, the reaction channels and all those people, they're like the worst kind of like vile, disgusting, incel-y, blah, blah. Amber calling us incels? You don't get to call anybody incel-y when you were looking for validation in a locale Discord chat. You are not allowed to talk about incel nature when you still are making transphobic jokes in a Discord chat full of people who are at least 10 years younger than you, trying to gain their attention and trying to gain their approval. That's embarrassing. That's incredibly embarrassing. You're not allowed to call anybody in girl world as cringy or weird or incel or any of that. When you're out here doing gooning faces and actively doing your goon core material on Snapchat, on YouTube, on TikTok, you are almost 40 years old. And at this point, you have gained none of the grace and none of the wisdom that comes with age. Instead, you have reversed You've reversed worse into yourself and into the worst parts of yourself. Amber, when you point one finger, there is 4 fingers pointing right back at you, sister. And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. I got taught that when I was in 4th grade, sister. And that's what I'm telling you. You are the first one to call other people weird names, and then when you get called a name, when you get called a bitch, when you get called a cunt, you want to cry? Don't be the pig who squealed wolf. And don't come around fixing your tongue and your teeth, your missing teeth, talking about who here is like an incel or anything. Because you're a large, rotund loser looking for validation in a lolcow Discord. You are quite literally a fucking loser, Amber. You're quite literally a fucking loser. You're sleeping in the morning and you're waking up at the noon, going onto a Discord and then watching channels of people who actively have said that they don't like you and don't want anything to do with you. And you're telling everybody else that they're weirdos. Clock your own tea. You need to clock your own tea, sister, because you're a fucking weirdo.
Whoa, you mad, huh?
Another note that I had was she does actively watch hate channels. We already knew that. She told on herself by showing that she was watching Studio Deets, which love you, Studio Deets. Love, love, love Studio Deets. She was watching Hecticana, which, bitch, me too. Because, yeah, Hecticana's on it, girl. Hecticana is on it. She struck the ankle, and she was talking about how she didn't strike the ankle. Bitch, I don't care. Sorry, I stopped recording because my mom sent me a picture of a taxi. Listen, I'm sorry if I'm being mean, but I'm also not sorry because this bitch has gone on my last nerves, and I may not know her, and I do not want to know Amber. If that fucking bitch ever messaged me, I'm telling that bitch to jump off a bridge because I don't want anything to do with her. I'm sorry. But then, like, when it came to the ankle, and she was just like, that's the most baby dick behavior stuff ever. But you know for a fact that if someone said that she had a you know for a fact that if someone talked about her and her fat this bitch would be upset. Don't talk about other people's bodies when you don't want your body to be talked about. But besides that, don't talk about anybody's, like, that's such a weird, loser, gross, chronically online, gooned out brain behavior. Again, I've never been one to shame someone on getting their goon on. Get your goon on, you know what I mean? Work gooners. But to sit there and talk about, like, his penis and whether or not it's gonna be baby, like, that's so fucking weird and such an embarrassing thing to say. And why would you even care? Because, bitch, you said, oh, I don't like penis, but you like Daltons. But you like Daltons. And for you to talk about someone else's genitals, especially when you were crying about your crumble cookie video, girl, please. Don't prove I'm right. The arm photo, that one was already talked about, I believe, where, what's her name? Emily said that she deleted the picture because Amber was actively trying to spin a story to her mother. In my opinion, I would have never sent Amber any photo. But in a way, it kind of worked out because it kind of shows us that Amber's fucking
mentally unwell.
The way she tried to talk about, like, look, I don't even have nails. Look. I can't even. Your brain stops you from even biting your whole finger out. Your brain stops you from even biting your whole finger off. Your jaw is strong enough to bite your whole finger off, but your brain's telling you not to. It's almost like our brain. This might be shocking for Amber, but it's almost like our brain is predisposed to making sure that we don't get hurt because we don't like it when we get hurt. So even if we were to, I don't know, like, scratch ourselves, our brain automatically is telling us don't go as strong as you would for, like, a self-defense because I don't like how that feels. So it's almost like if I were to grab someone else and I know that I'm not feeling that physical harm or that physical pain, I can go even harder or even worse because I'm not the one who's feeling it, but someone else is. It's kind of like a crazy fucking natural thing that happens. Isn't that crazy? I'm going to say allegedly. To allegedly throw your cat out, Amber? For shame. For shame. And, like, no tea, no shade to Amber. No tea, no shade to Amber at all. If Emily let out Rarity, this might be me being stupid, and y'all can clock me if I'm being stupid. It's kind of weird how Emily still has her cat, but you don't. I don't know, there's something weird or crazy about that, about how Amber has lost, what, 2 cats in her history, including Rarity. But as far as we know, Emily still has her cat, Princess. Makes you think, Amber, there's a common denominator here, and it's not Emily. This is what I don't like, is Amber, when she gets backed into a corner, she will start talking about how terrifying something is, and I hate that. And ooh, it's like prime rage bait. Ooh, it's prime rage bait. Ooh, it's such rage bait. Because it's like, it is crazy. It's fucking crazy. It is genuinely, not to be ableist at all with me saying crazy. I've been saying crazy this whole time. I'm not trying to be ableist, but like, it's fucking crazy. It is goo bananas. With how she tries to flip it and say when someone else is basically defending themselves, or when someone is standing up for themselves, or someone else is saying that your behavior is doing this, Amber then flips it back onto her, or onto the other person and goes, "You're scaring me." Listen, if I was as absolutely degraded mentally as this bitch is, I would find accountability fucking terrifying too. I'd be woo shaking in my boots. That'd be me if I was Amber. I'd be like, woo! Do not talk to me about accountability, girl. Oh my god, you are scaring me. You are scaring me green. To see someone who has done so much wrong, then try and flip it and say, "You're scaring me because you're saying that I hurt you." You scare me because you told me that I harmed you. Okay, so this is something that I wrote, and I just said it a little bit ago, and Hecticon actually already said this in his own video. What she likes to do, and the way that she views the world, is a very black and white way. And I've said this before in a video where Amberlynn Reid has very black and white thinking. Her thinking is set in this idea of one is always right, one is always wrong, one is always good, one is always bad. There is no in between, really. It's always, somebody's always got to be the hero and the victim, and someone has always got to be the villain and the assailant. There's so many nuances and so many things that we may know, we may not know, but when it comes to Amber, none of that matters. Because, again, she's going to view it one way. It doesn't matter to her that Emily is saying that you hurt me physically. Amber's excuse is, you hurt me first, so I'm allowed to hurt you in any way I want. That's not how the world works. That's not how it works at all. You had any, and Karina said it also, you have money, a fully furnished apartment, you live in another state, and you have your bum-ass mama who can pick you up whenever you want. But she chose to stay, and you begged to stay? Whose fault is that? She didn't force you to stay. You wanted to stay. It doesn't matter whether or not she was taking these screenshots and sending it to you while she was eating your pussy. Who cares? Who cares? That doesn't matter. You chose to stay, and it's not a whole thing about, well, we all think we're perfect, and you're not perfect, and we're not actually perfect, so who cares? That's such a stupid and childish excuse. No one's ever said in Girl World that they're perfect. No one in Girl World has ever mentioned how perfect they think they are, or how perfect we all are, blah, blah. Like, no one's doing that. We're holding you to the fire because we're saying that you're being a bitch. We're saying that your actions and the way that you talk to people, the way that you talk about other people within your own community, the way that you involve yourself with your own audience, we're saying what you're doing is irreprehensible. What we're saying is what you're doing is wrong. What we're saying is that what you are is wrong. And we're holding you accountable. What you're doing is not taking accountability and now flipping it, like how I said earlier, and saying we're wrong because we somehow say that we're perfect because we're calling you out. She's bringing up the idea of others being not perfect. She's saying you're not perfect because you're guilty. You are a guilty, evil person. The reaction channels are evil, guilty people who are mean and bullies. All my exes are evil, mean people, even if they're just sharing their experiences. Anybody else who talks about me is an evil, mean, guilty person. And I need all of you guys to give me all my stuff. That way I can sue. with what money? When she's announcing that she's not perfect, she changes the meaning of it. And I'm pretty sure we all see that. We're all smart here. I don't think you guys are stupid. But she's switching it. The way she uses perfect is very different from how she's saying it from person to person. When she's saying she's not perfect, she's saying, I am an innocent person. I'm an innocent person who is going to make faults, who is going to make mistakes, who is going to be at wrong points, but in a soft and silly kind of Mary Sue kind of way. When other people are not perfect, she's saying that they're a mean person, they're guilty, they're wrong, they're mean, they're nasty, and that they're pretty much haughty losers, haughty mean bitches. That's what she's saying. And it's funny because it's like, why is it a different connotation for you versus for the reaction channels? Would the connotation not be the same? Because when I'm saying I'm not a perfect person, it's because I know I'm flawed. It's because I know I'm going to be mean. It's because I know, shit, I'm probably going to think about this video right now when I'm editing it and thinking, ooh, Pink, you may have gone a little bit too far, but that's okay because I'm funny. One party, when they're not perfect, they're evil, mean, guilty bullies. But for her, when she's not perfect, she's an innocent, silly, the manic pixie dream girl. Emily recorded Amber, and bitch, me too. Me too. She cannot be upset at Emily for recording Amber because this is my thing. I don't want to get into my own personal history because I'm choosing not to, but I have come from a background where sometimes I did need to record certain things for my safety. And that's damn to the other party, but that's for my safety. You were showing me behaviors of something that isn't safe to me. Something that when I then call you out on, you then try to flip it on me and say, that's not what happened. You don't remember right. That's not how it went. You're wrong. I never did X, so you can't say that. I've been in that seat where it's like, no, I have to record this. That way, when you start saying something, I have it candidly here. This is what's going on, and you're not going to get away from what you said. I don't shame Emily for doing that. I don't. And I know that we have seen that Amber had made some type of comment threatening her daughter, threatening a child, or involving Emily's child. Which also, Emily, you know for a fact that you have a child. You need to be way more careful. You need to be way more careful online. The first thing that should always come first should be your child. But with that being said, you were creating an environment where a person didn't feel safe in their own home that they told you verbally, and you choose to ignore that, flip it around and try and say that it's on them. That I would not. I'm sorry. You would be recorded too, and that would be let out. And I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, this is a crime. Because no, this was for my safety. Because what you were doing is straight up abusive. What you were doing is straight up vile. And you bet your ass I'd record that shit. I put down that nobody likes Emily. Nobody does. I'm not a big fan of Emily. I don't know Emily. I will say, I think the general consensus has kind of softened over for Emily. I think Emily, in my opinion, has probably softened a little bit just because we know for a fact that she was a huge victim for Amber. However, Emily, you still walked into this. Emily, the stupidest thing you did was continuously go back to Amber. Now, granted, we kind of now know, with a little bit of context because of Amber's own vlogs and Emily's texts, between both of them, Amber more or less was lying. So maybe we don't know the full scope of the relationship and how much it went. But what we do know is that Emily is, in a way, a victim of Amber. People would be more empathetic because we do like to listen to victims. There is a point where it's like, yes, online, it is a very tricky, slippery slope of online accusations just because technically anyone can say anything and it can be proven, it'll be proven true until false. You know what I mean? And at this point, Emily has become more sympathetic compared to Amber because Amber hasn't had any proof against Emily besides Emily called me mean names. But with that, Amber is not showing the full context. Now, granted, Emily hasn't been really showing a lot of context of everything back and forth. And my biggest thing is, shit, do it. Show everything. Even if it shows you not in the best light, bitch, what else do you have left to lose? If you were talking shit, you were talking shit. It's fine. It's totally fine, girl. She should be showing us everything that she wants and everything involving the whole context from point A all the way to point Z. Even if it shows you in the wrong light, girl, you might as well just own it and be like, yeah, I was talking shit. I can guarantee you, everybody would give you way more respect if you were just straight up like, I was talking mad shit. Even if it was to like fucking like people who you are now talking with. People who were calling her out, she was saying they're trolls, they're mean, and it's only this specific community that's just mean, nasty, vile, incel-y. And the only people who never have a problem are people who only watch her. That is such a weird dictatory. She's a fucking fascist. That is such a weird way to, like, you can only be a fan of mine if you never watch any of these other channels. And you're so fucking weird for that. That's weird. That's weird. That's such a weird thing to say. And honestly, her fan base, like hardcore Am-babies, in my opinion, are, I've said this before, in my opinion, they're abusers. Am-babies who are straight up only listening to Amber and only will follow her, in my opinion, straight up abusers. They are straight up abusers. They're in nature, and they are complicit with the idea of abuse and bad behaviors. And I pray to God that none of them ever have children or pets. Because if they're taking a note out of Amber's books, that's horrible. That's horrible. To record your partner on the toilet, to have your partner who is heavily drugged drive you back and forth, to record teenage girls in their bikinis and then put it online, to have random teenage girls go into a bathroom or walk to a bathroom with a random huge man that you just met right then and there. Like, no, absolutely not. Am-babies are probably the worst subgenre of like fan bases. There's a lot of bad fan bases, but Am-babies are one of the worst ones. Because how do you get around like that? That's horrible. Do you think that your fan base aren't allowed to get more connotation? What about the videos that you've deleted? You've shown yourself to your own audience that you don't care about them. Because you've lashed out at them. About how you don't want to do lives. About how they should be grateful for what they get for you. You are not God's gift to the earth, girl. It's disgusting. And her Am-babies who keep wanting this and who kind of egg her on by being like, yes, girl, you better preach. You better be doing this. Aunt Tammy's this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, we are going to believe Aunt Tammy because you literally lied about her and you admitted to lying about her. You've admitted and then renounced it and recanted numerous times. You have shown us that you are not a reliable narrator. And your fan base who choose to follow that are just as stupid as you are. And for her saying that she's going to be suing people for disagreeing with her, you can't sue people because they disagree with you or because they're saying that you did this. First things first, it's all alleged. No one's saying that 100% concrete you did this. However, what we are saying is that the behavior that you showed online has shown this. And again, no tea, no shade. Amber, you don't have the money. You do not have the money for that. This is the thing that proves to me, and again, if you can't see, you are as dense as a brick. When her emotion switches like that, that's weird. Now, again, I know there are people like who have bipolar, who have this, and this, and their emotions can go high and low very quickly. With Amber, hers is performative. How are you 1 second sobbing uncontrollably, and the next second you're slamming your fist on your table, and you're screaming out your head, and you're, well, I am the fucking victim. Ooh, girl. To see how quickly 1 second she was sobbing and boo-hooing and like talking about how she's the victim, and then as soon as she realizes that no one's really buying her crocodile tears, she's slamming on the table. And guess what? I am the fucking victim. I am this time. Guess what? I am the victim this time. We're just talking. We're just talking, girl. We're just talking, girl. But it's like, girl, we're just talking with each other. There is no need for you to get this fucking upset. We're telling you what we're seeing, and in return, you showed us a journal. In return, you're telling us a bunch of random bullshit that don't matter. You're upset because you're not able to get the story that you want to cross. You're upset at us because we're not picking up what you're putting down. Your emotional switch up is to me telling me that you're guilty and you're angry. You're angry because you want to be trusted. You feel like you have been wronged and you want to be proven as being right that you've been wronged. That's what it's showing me, and that's embarrassing. And it shows with what she's saying when she says, you're lucky I keep my mouth shut. And when she says shit like that, we all know that that just means, bitch, you ain't got nothing to say. That just means you ain't got nothing to say, girl. That just means you ain't got nothing to say. That's literally it. When Amber has something to say, she'll say it. And we know it because when Amber's at her most unhinged, where she's slamming on tables and doing all this shit and name-calling people, she will say whatever she wants. Oh, Hecticon is a bad father. Oh, I know what Karina Kaboom looks like. Here's a picture of her. Oh, girl, Rachel's ugly, and fucking Salty Crab is a fat bitch, and what's his name? It's Snowflake's is an abuser, and he and his wife got divorced, and you took an oath about this. Meanwhile, you've been broken up with every single time. What's that to say about you? The ankle has a baby dick. Jordy's a fucking loser incel. This person's that. This person's this. My mom did coke, and my brother almost died, and my mom gave me up for coke, and my grandmother's a bitch, and this, and like, she's going off about everybody. But then you sit there and you say that you keep your mouth shut? It's not clocking to me. It's not clocking. Those two things don't go together. How are you crazy and a batty bitch and going rowdy as hell and you're raucous all nature in this one segment? But then when it comes to the actual accusation at hand, I keep my mouth shut. You're lucky to keep my mouth. Why do you keep your mouth shut? It's because you don't have nothing. It's quite literally just that. It's because you ain't got nothing. You ain't got nothing. You ain't got nothing to talk about. You got nothing. Like, sorry. You nothing to talk about. Gonna be golden. Now I'm shining. Okay, so she does technically admit to being abusive because she said it right there that she is sorry for how she felt when she was feeling bad. You don't get to hurt people when you're feeling a certain way. Your mental health issues at the end of the day are still your actions. They are not an excuse for your actions. Point blank, period. When you were doing what you did, you can blame your BPD that you do not have. You can blame your traumatic abuse that you had when you were a child that you should have grown out, because at this point you've been an adult longer than you have been a child. You cannot blame any of that for this now. That is inexcusable. What you did was inexcusable. And you're blaming the whole world for this? That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. You were abusive to your partners numerous times on different levels, in different ways, numerous times, time after time after time, and then using their abuse as a joke, using what you did with Choosy with Beck as a joke with your weird fan base. With your weird degenerative fan base. You are using the abuse that you went through and throwing it into the face of others to try and excuse your behavior. That's crazy. That's what I find to be fucking crazy. You went through so much in your life, as you have said, but in return, you think that that is now okay and appropriate behavior for you to then lambast others on? That's insane. That's insane. That's crazy. That's absolutely abhorrent behavior. Absolutely abhorrent behavior. That's wildly crazy. And that's by all, we can paint it in so many frills and so many different words. It's only just removing the inevitable fact that what she did was it was abusive. What she did was straight up flat abuse. Your emotions dictate how you feel, but they are not reason enough for your actions. Take ownership and accountability over the actions that you did, Amber. That's literally it. That's like the whole tea, is that you did this. It's your actions. It wasn't your brain doing it. Your brain is still you. You are all of what it is. Your mental health issues, your trauma, your this, your that, your left, your right, all of it is you. And even when you feel like it's not you, it's still you. From what we have, from the information that we have, it is quite point dot blank about it. And it's repugnant to see that. It's a repugnant thing to see how someone can behave like that and think that it's okay. I think that's all I can say. Sorry if this video is very long-winded, but I had a lot to say and a lot's been going on in the Amberverse. I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you guys comment, like, share, and subscribe. I will probably see you with another video that's going to be less bitchy and less ranty. And I will see you guys next time, because I do a lot of type of videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate anybody who watches, anybody who leaves comments, and anybody who is just sharing the video. My name is Pink the Most, Cat the Sun. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye-bye.
I have so many receipts. Are you kidding? I have receipts of her calling me a